time for the Daily Chelsea on the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. It's always something, like, you know, when they said we're going to do this, by the way, I was like, there's nothing to talk about Chelsea with every single day. But your club just completely always creates something for us all the time.
I completely agree. You know when you talk to most football fans, whenever you meet fans who support different clubs, or you're in a pub at an away game, you're talking to like the home fans that day. I think most people truly believe that their club are wild, their club are unpredictable, their club are doing things the wrong way. And I think that everybody thinks that about their own team. But if you actually boil it down, Chelsea are bonkers. Like, Chelsea are... Like, it wasn't that long ago that Chelsea were the European champions and we couldn't sell a club shirt because our club shop was closed. I
saw a picture of your starting 11. I don't know if someone can bring it up for me and I'll read it out in a minute. But I think there's only one player left from the team that started in the final.
3.
Who's the 3?
3. Reece James,
yeah,
Ben Chilwell,
and
Thiago Silva.
Okay.
3 players.
3 players
from
left.
The team that won the European Cup in Portugal.
Won the European Cup.
Yeah. It wasn't long ago either.
Sensational.
We beat Manchester City. If you think about how many of the team that lost the final for Manchester City, how many of that team are still playing for Man City?
And how they've gone on.
And
it's not like you haven't spent money. You've spent more than them. No. And they've gone on and won the treble. And here we are talking about Chelsea and players leaving. The next player to talk about, and look, I guess for some Chelsea fans, he's almost been forgotten because he's not been at the club, he's been on loan, and that's Callum Hudson-Odoi. And I just find his story crazy. By the way, only 22 still, which is remarkable because you think, well, he must be 25, 26. No, only 22, burst onto the scene and made his Chelsea debut at 17. At the time, when he made his debut for England in a competitive match, he was the youngest ever player at 18 years and 135 days. What has happened to Callum Hudson-Odoi?
I mean, if in terms of putting your finger on exactly where it went wrong, it's not easy. It's a very layered, very complex story. What I would say, you know the theory about money corrupting. I would say that Chelsea overpaid Callum Hudson-Odoi, and it didn't do him any favours. Like, he was effectively a child earning well over £100,000 a week.
Yeah.
Like, what happened was, it was around the... I mean, we're sort of doing this off memory, but around the Maurizio Sarri era of Chelsea, which wasn't a happy place. Stamford Bridge was all over the place. It really, really was toxic. Maurizio Sarri was not in keeping with the philosophy of Chelsea fans. It was a poisonous place at times, and the performances were not good.
Yeah.
You know, we got beat 6-0 by Man City. A few days later, we went to Bournemouth and got beat 4-0. That's, 10-0 on aggregate in the space of a week. Everything was all over the place. And Maurizio Sarri was not a popular man. He was not a unifying man. The fans weren't happy. They were ball pulling in different directions. And we were all over the place. The one thing that we had that year was Callum Hudson-Odoi. And it felt like, we'd unearthed a talent, a prestigious talent that had the world at his feet. He was one of the most exciting teenage footballers around. So much so, in fact, that Bayern Munich offered 70 million.
70 million, which you turned down.
70 million pounds. But we had to turn it down because Chelsea, what happened was, he was our thing that season. He was the thing that we were clinging on to. He was our only hope of that year. Like, we were just delighted to have him. And suddenly, Bayern Munich was swooping for our young players, the players that we have developed, the players that we have put the effort into making our own. And Bayern Munich were looking to poach. And Chelsea, effectively, by very definition of allowing him to go to Bayern Munich, we would have become a selling club. So we said, no, you can't go. We're going to keep hold of him. We're going to give you a contract that you will not say no to. And we put him on a ridiculous contract. He was on over 150 grand a week.
Yeah, he was on loan by Leverkusen last season. Made 14 appearances in the league, 21 appearances in total. I don't know if there was injuries there or just wasn't getting in the team. But again, it just surprised me because when he made his debut for England all those years ago, and it feels like years ago, he's only played 3 times since. Like, if you were to have told me that Callum Hudson-Odoi, here we are now, 2023, hasn't got 30, 40 caps for England, I would have said you're mad.
No,
I said you're mad. I said he's a super talent. He's gonna shock the world. And it's weird. I just wonder if we put far too much pressure, or maybe we overhype young players to an extent where maybe they're not what we think we were. Or, as you say, maybe it's just a case of too soon, too much in terms of money for these young players.
I think that's certainly the case. And Chelsea have done this before. Like, I remember, it was a long time ago now, but Chelsea had a young player called Josh McElhenney.
Yes, I do remember him well.
And we put him on a huge contract, and again, it did him no favours. I think we put him on, 17 years old. I remember we played Newcastle in the League Cup, We got beat 4-3 by Newcastle, but he played and he was a child at the time and he was sensational. Put him on 50 grand a week. Again, it did him no favours. You know, we were, with whatever word you want to use, you know, generosity or just wildly insincere, inflated contracts, we were, by generosity, ruining players. And I think that Josh McElhenney and Callum Hudson-Odoi have fallen victim to that.
Well, look, I hope that Callum Hudson-Odoi can sort of fulfil his potential.
He's
Again,
so young.
He's only 22, but we have seen players burn out very, very early. It shouldn't be the case. He hasn't played that much football over the last couple of years, but hopefully, if he does leave Chelsea, he can get a team. And I'm sure I'm sure there's a Premier League team or a team around Europe that will definitely take. I won't even say a punt on him because he's still very, very good. Give him a go, and hopefully he can rekindle some of the talent that we remember from a few years ago. All right, that's outgoings, and there's more to talk about Chelsea in terms of outgoings, but I want to quickly focus on a massive incoming, and obviously this will excite Chelsea fans, and that's Moises Caicedo. It looks like, or we're hearing that personal terms might have been agreed. They're not a problem. You might get the midfielder that I know you've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, well, I think we need him. If you think that N'Golo Kante, Mateo Kovacic, Mason Mount now,
Ruben Loftus-Cheek
have all left. Chelsea needs reinforcements. We need to replenish our midfield. So signing Caicedo would be brilliant because he is clearly a proven Premier League player. He is exactly what we need, you know, in terms of that energy and that bite in the middle. Him and Enzo Fernandez, I think, could work well together. The fact that he's a very good right back is also something that we could use. You know, Reece James is a wonderful player, but he's injured a lot.
Yeah.
So having Caicedo available is going to give Mauricio Pochettino options, and he does feel like a Mauricio Pochettino player. You know, when you think about the way that Pochettino likes to play, when you think about his favourite midfielders, when you think about that Tottenham team that was so good for a period, you know, it didn't quite go his way. In the end, I think it was fairly underwhelming, but there was a time when they were very good. You know, huge results. It was built on players such as Caicedo, players who did what Caicedo can do. So having Caicedo there is exactly what we need, because I think I would say that, you know, last season, if you said who's Chelsea's best midfield, I would have said that Chelsea's best midfield last season was Mateo Kovacic, N'Golo Kante and Mason Mount. That was Chelsea's best midfield that we could put on a pitch. All three have subsequently left. So we've obviously, you know, we've got a £100 million player in Enzo Fernandez. We're going to need him to have the season that we hope he can have. We're going to need him to be the player that we saw glimpses of, but we didn't see it enough. The player that was integral to Argentina winning the World Cup.
So what's your starting midfield next season if you hit Caicedo?
Is it
Caicedo, Fernandez and who?
Conor Gallagher at the moment?
Conor Gallagher?
At the moment, I think that's what it's
looking. Do you think that midfield's better than Mount, Bruno and Casemiro?
No, of course it's not.
No, I'm just playing games with you. Of course it isn't. I thought you were going to say yes. I'm about to absolutely bury you. Of course it isn't.
No, of course it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's incomparable to that. That's why I think that's why I'm finding this sort of Pochettino decision to take the Chelsea job an odd one, because
you can't turn it down.
No. Look, Chelsea is still one of the most appealing jobs in world football. Of course it is, and the stature of the club will demand that.
There's
you
just
take
a
the
lot
opportunity.
of work to be done there.
Because also, you know, if it goes really well, like take best case scenario for Chelsea next year. Best case scenario is what? Top 4?
Best.
That doesn't feel like success in what Pochettino would want.
It doesn't, but when you finish bottom half last season, it's
no, it would be success
something.
for us. But you know, from Mauricio Pochettino, who is one of the most sought after managers in world football, every big job that comes up, he will be linked with. I'm just surprised that he fancies it, but he will obviously believe that he can do some wonderful things with Chelsea.
Indeed. The outgoings continue at Chelsea. Another one being linked with a move away, and I can see this one happening very, very quick, is Christian Pulisic to AC Milan. Only 24, Pulisic, but has been blighted by injuries since he came to Chelsea. Very exciting player. I remember the first time I saw him, I thought, bit of Hazard about him. In terms of a bit, not. You didn't even ask me what percentage. Just a bit, 5%, 1%. But looks like he's on his way out of the club as well. Lyon look like they might join the battle for him. We're hearing a fee of around 25 million euros, and Pulisic is gone.
Good.
Another one.
Yeah, no, but this is essential. We need rid of Christian Pulisic. Like, there are so many players at the club that need to go. There are so many players that are sort of weighing us down, and Christian Pulisic is one of them. It's just gone so sour. Look, there was a time when he was quite good. You know, he had a bit of a purple patch. I remember he scored a hat-trick away at Burnley, and people suddenly thought, this is it. He's landed. But so inconsistent, so injured, and has been a bit of a problem. You know, his father's been moaning about not wanting to be at Chelsea. He isn't the kind of player that you need. You know, in terms of of creating a team in the way that Eddie Howe's done a very good job of this. You create effectively a band of brothers, players that love the club and love each other and fight for one another and are desperate to win for one another. Christian Pulisic isn't that. You know, all you've got to do is go on Twitter and look at what his father says about Chelsea and realise that Christian Pulisic has no ambition or desire to remain at the club.
Very quickly, is this one of your friends here? Yes, Rory, it's Chelsea. It's Chelsea Andrew from Kilburn. Is that one of your boys? Hudson-Odoi's downfall was the injury before the Nations League in Portugal. I can't remember that. That is one of your boys, isn't it? You know, don't you?
I might. I mean,
the way you said that, yes,
Kilburn.
Rory, it's Chelsea Andrew, so he's obviously known.
Yeah, I think there is a chance that I do. I mean, that's a point. Callum Hudson-Odoi. There's been a lot of things. There's been a lot of extenuating circumstances with Callum Hudson-Odoi.
But ultimately, it's just not worked
off
out
the
the last
pitch
few years.
activity, injuries being one of them, has contributed to Callum Hudson-Odoi struggling. And the fact that he could now leave Chelsea for free, you know, that doesn't happen.
When you could have made 70 million from him a few years back. But it is what it is. It's football.